business economics, I'm not really sure what exactly you'd be learning.
Yeah.
But nothing, not one thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just don't think any of those, even the things that I learned back then, apply to this day and age. Like immediately after, it wasn't like one of those things that I was like, oh, I just learned this in college. I'm going to apply this to my first startup. They don't teach you how to build startups in college. You know, what would be really good if my college offered it would be some sort of an entrepreneurship degree. But I think if you can afford it and you're not going to graduate with a massive debt, and if it's covered in your scholarship or your financial aid, do it. I think
yes.
There's
if it's covered, you have nothing to lose. And I also think, like with college, like going to university, an underappreciated piece is also like the ability to kind of build like a network a little bit and meet a lot of different people, kind of grow your social skills. I think that might be an unappreciated kind of asset with the university. Now, is that one of the main reasons that you should go and spend X dollars to go? Absolutely not. No. But again, still something that I think is definitely underappreciated.
Yeah, venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand is whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit. You just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles. Time to take it to the next level. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Venture Hustles podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am Saj, and I'm here with my co-host Jack. How are we doing?
We're doing great here, and it's a beautiful day here in New York.
It's a great day. It's we're almost in November right now. It's October end of October. November's right around the corner, and it's about 80 degrees outside today, so it's nice.
A beautiful day, and Saj's co-host here is feeling a little bit under the weather, so if you hear me a little stuffed up or maybe a sneeze here and there, I'm going to do my best to keep it under control. But we're here.
Well,
and we'll make it happen. Mm-hmm.
We'll make it happen. So today we're basically diving into a topic that has always been the debate. The value of going to university or college, and just getting that education, that degree in the modern world. Should the next generation invest time and resources in getting a degree? So we're going to share our insights. And is everything good? Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a glitch.
A little glitch. We'll share our insights from our own personal journeys and dissect this question from multiple angles. Mm-hmm. But before we jump in, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. So let's get started, man.
Fantastic. So kind of like you said, interesting question, one that's becoming, I think, more and more popular as the years go on, and especially I think for the next 2 or 3 generations here. I think it will be a very pressing question. Mm-hmm. Especially with the rise in costs of universities, specifically the questioned value. So I think before we start to kind of discuss our thoughts, maybe we can go over some of our background here.
Yeah.
So you went to university?
I did. I followed the traditional route, finishing high school, mm-hmm. going to college. That's what we call university here in the United States. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much, and I graduated with a degree, standard 4 years. Nothing too special.
Okay.
I went to City University of New York, College of Staten Island.
Love
that. Graduated with a business economics degree, class of 2012. So that's essentially been my background.
Love that.
Yeah.
I am on the other side here. Obviously went to high school, completed high school. Did go to college for about a year, went to community college, was going to study to be a social studies teacher, actually. And then about a year and a half in, I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. I can remember. So as a teacher, and for those of you that are teachers, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but there's kind of 2 things you have to do while you're in school. One is student teach. Mm-hmm. But before you do that, you have to do like observations. So I had gone back to my old high school. I was really good friends with a previous teacher of mine. and did some observations, and I will never forget there was like a break in between periods, and like the clan of social studies teachers was talking about how what teachers call tenure, I think it's called, where it's pretty much like once you hit a certain threshold, like it's almost like you can't get fired kind of thing. At least that's my understanding of it. And pretty much what they're saying is that like their retirement fund, the benefits, the threshold to get to tenure was going up, and then the benefits and the retirement fund, all things of that nature, were going down. I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm not sure that I like what I'm hearing. And so producer James is laughing at me here. And so after hearing that and kind of, discussing a couple of things with my family, mulling it over, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to kind of go out and just kind of get into the workforce. So
you dropped out because of that, not because of any financial reasons, like not like college was too expensive or anything.
I mean, I went to a community college, so it wasn't, although I was paying for it out of pocket, it wasn't terribly expensive. I think I had a minute amount of financial aid, but I don't think cost was a factor. It was really more of me sitting there and saying, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. Do I even want to be a teacher? If I don't, or if I'm even questioning it, I'm out.
Well, why social studies?
I always like social studies. I always like history. And I was always kind of naturally good at it, to be honest with you. So it was kind of a little niche I had. And, one of my teachers in high school was a social studies teacher. I really, kind of looked up to him. Was a really good dude. And my main goal was to be a teacher and then coach football. I love football. I really wanted to coach. And then I thought to myself, well, I don't have to be a teacher to coach. I can still kind of volunteer and go down that route. So I eventually was like, you know what? Let me drop out. I can always go back. At the point of dropping out, after even speaking about it with my family, they're like, you should just finish, get the degree, get, X, Y, Z. I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do that. For me, it started going towards a trend of like almost wasting money. So I was like, you know what? I'm out.
So how long were you in?
About a year and a half. I think I was probably a handful of classes away from like the bachelor's, like two year.
And was your
degree associates, I think, actually.
So it sounded like your family was supportive when you dropped out.
They were supportive, because they were definitely unsure or uncertain of my decision, but they believed in me, and I had a plan. It's not like I was saying, hey, I'm going to drop out and just kind of hang out on the couch. I was pretty adamant about what my plan would be, which would eventually be getting like my first sales job, and going down that path. But I would say overall supportive, uncertainty, maybe scared, but overall supportive. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think that helps with the decision and the transition from anything, really, when you have the support from your family and just people around you. So that's pretty good. I think while you were there, do you feel like you learned anything? Like anything that you think
value
influenced your next career choices or opportunities, or just what went on after?
Honestly, no. I think maybe some of the reason for that is because I don't really think what I was currently going to school for during that point had like much overlap. I was in my first year, 2 years, so a lot of classes I was taking, were very social studies oriented, and teaching oriented. Obviously now, that I'm in more of the world of like business, like there isn't really much overlap, I don't think. Maybe a minute or very small amount, conceptually, but not much. I mean,
I don't think you were there long enough for you to say that you got anything from it. Like a year is really nothing in college, because you're spending most of your credits in like electives and general classes that are useless, that are just padding.
The cherry on top for me was I had one class. It was a music class, and it was a 7:15 a.m. class. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with the island, there's kind of two different counties, Suffolk and Nassau. I went to Nassau Community, so it was a little bit of a drive for me. And 7:15, so that means I'm waking up at like probably 5 in the morning. I go to this music class. First day. On the first day, the professor says, okay, your homework is going to be to write a song. And it has to be X amount of, words or lyrics. This is how long it needs to be. And I remember listening to him say that and saying, there is no shot that you will see me next time. No shot. And that was pretty much my last day. So, I mean, is it something to be proud of? I don't think so. But again, it was just kind of a decision that I made, and it's worked out, pretty good, I'd say, so far. So, now on the other side of the coin, for someone that did go through the 4-year degree, I think, your degree is definitely applicable to kind of what you do now. What do you think? What did you learn from that maybe you're applying today? Or
yeah, I don't know. I think for me, I've never really cared too much about like as an employer, like I didn't really care about degrees or anything when we were recruiting somebody, unless it's in like a specialized field.
Okay.
For me personally, I think that going to university was essential very early on especially when you're like 18 going into like 20s, early 20s, is to build discipline. And again, I think the first year or two was really just messing around. It was just supposed to be the fun years. I really like honed in after that to kind of just graduate with something that I could use. Fun fact, I've never picked up my degree from college. It's still sitting there. I did the walk and I've never ever picked up the actual diploma. Me and my wife always joke about this, that we'll make a road trip one day or a day trip to go pick this up to see if they even have it. Yeah. Because it's been over over about a decade now. So
maybe, when you're on the Forbes 40 under 40, potentially you go there and they'll be expecting you and they'll be pretty excited that you're there.
I mean, that's the thing. I never used my degree. I've never used it for anything. Like even after college, like even the jobs that I had, right, immediately. Okay, I started my first company, my first startup while I was in college. Like it was the last year as I was graduating. I started my first startup, and then my entrepreneurial journey started right away. So it was like I've never really needed to apply that anywhere because I wasn't really looking for a job. The jobs that I had, that I worked when I worked under other people, were all before and during college. So it was like I was always like active. I was always working. So yeah. Did university help me build a career in the technology space? No, because it had, like, I went to school for business economics, which, to be honest, I don't remember any of those things or applying any of those things.
I was just gonna ask you. Yeah. I mean, even business economics, I'm not really sure what exactly you'd be learning. Yeah. But nothing, not one thing.
I mean, again, I just don't think any of those, even the things that I learned back then, apply to this day and age. Like immediately after, it wasn't like one of those things that I was like, oh, I just learned this in college. I'm going to apply this to my first startup. They don't teach you how to build startups in college. You know what would be really good if my college offered it would be some sort of an entrepreneurship degree. I think that would be really good. Figuring out how to build, how to recruit people, how to raise money, things like that would be useful. And that wasn't there in my college. Or maybe I see a lot of things, a lot of places offer that now as a degree. Yeah. But I think when I was going to school, like in 2008 to 2012, that wasn't an option. And also, like, my entire college life, I was chasing, or I was basically, because of my family and their history in medicine and engineering, I was trying to, I was kind of like expected to follow a similar path. So I was in pre-med for most of college, like for the first 2 years. I was
is that right?
Yeah, I was studying to be a doctor. And then
what kind of doctor? You remember?
No, I didn't really give a shit. It was like one of those things.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was, and then I switched majors 6 times while I was in college. Yeah. See,
so that's something that I kind of want to maybe dissect a little bit. Not particularly like your case, but like for me, that was something that I did not want to do because there's plenty of young guys, young girls out there that are paying so much money to go to school, whether it's $5,000 a semester or it's $50,000 a semester, and here you are, you're switching majors 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I mean, you don't know what you want to do, and that's okay. But I don't know.
I think it's you finding yourself. And
Yes.
I didn't come from money, so like my dad wasn't paying for my college. Like it wasn't. I'm not a trust fund baby. Everything that I was doing getting into college, I first of all I got into that university with a STEM degree. So a STEM scholarship.
Okay.
So it was basically like a full science technology ride. And then when I started changing the majors is when I started losing the scholarship.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah, so eventually when I graduated with business economics, I think I was like a semester late, but they let me walk because I lost so many credits in the process.
Jeez.
They still let me walk, and I just made it up in the off season. But I mean, man, I think half my college, the credits were wasted because I wasn't able to, like I was going to school for pre-med. I was in biology, then I was in chemistry.
You were just jumping.
Then I was in psychology. I mean, I was just jumping, and I tried so many, and then I did forensic science, like forensic.
You work for FBI?
Yeah.
Shit?
Yep. So it was that. Then I did something else in business, and then I finally settled in, I think I did international business, and then I finally settled in business economics. And there was no particular reason why. It was just one of those things where I was just like, I think the only thing that I can connect myself with is business. And it was a journey and a path to finding myself. And I think everybody should go to college. My personal feedback is everybody should go to college if it's not costing them an arm and a leg. And the money doesn't matter if you're getting a specialized degree. If you're going to college to become a doctor, an engineer, a computer scientist now,
lawyer,
or a programmer, lawyer, a specialized degree, I think it's completely worth it because it pays off eventually.
Yes.
If you're going to college and you're going to pay $10,000-$20,000 a semester or whatever for business, and it's not Harvard, then I think you're just throwing your money down the toilet.
For sure.
So I think for me that like it depends on what exactly you're doing and why. And also like if you're going to college for a business degree like myself and you don't really like you have a full ride or scholarship or financial aid, let's say, that covers you.
It's different. Yeah.
Then 1,000% you should go through it because having a degree is basically a plan B. It's like a fallback plan. Even if you're an entrepreneur, you're building something on your own. But right now, in this day and age, as I'm sure we both know, there's so many different avenues available for people to be able to self-learn and apply and build businesses. Yeah, it's a completely different scene and environment from what I was used to when I was going to college.
Yeah, you know? I mean, I think probably one of the biggest things for me, and obviously, you know, I like how you mentioned the special, degree, lawyer, doctor. I mean, those are no-brainers, I think, for me. Now, in regards to like going to school for business. Right. And I think, universities like Harvard and things, Ivy schools like that might be an exception. But other than, let's say, those schools and how many are in the Ivy, like 10 or 5, something of that nature. It's like Yale, Dartmouth. Okay. Why would you want to go to a university outside of those to learn business from someone that isn't involved in the business, doesn't have a business, hasn't run a successful business? Right. And that was like that is a core like belief of mine is I want to be able to work with somebody and learn from somebody that has done the things that I would like to achieve, has been down that road, because I think those are the best people that you can learn from, point blank.
I think it also depends on the person, man. If the person is not active and they're kind of like a bum, let's say, and they don't really do anything about their life. They don't help themselves, and they think that this magical figure is going to come carve their life for them. It really depends on the individual, right? Then I think you should go to school because I think school teaches. That's the one thing that I think I would say that I learned very early on when I was very immature, right? Which is discipline. I think it taught me that hey. The importance of working on a schedule and being, I think the foundation of why I am so schedule based right now, and I have been for the last 10 plus years, were rooted, I would say, from school. Like
that's a good angle.
Yeah, I didn't really wake up one day and figured out what it was. I mean, I've developed it over the years, but I think the foundation and the root of that was definitely very prominent early in those years because it helped me finish. But then again, man, I was the same in high school too. Like I finished high school a year earlier.
Yeah,
because I locked
it. You're a smart guy.
I could always lock it in. I always like focused and I locked everything in. So I don't know. That would be my only takeaway from college, from university. You know, but I think if you can afford it and you're not going to graduate with a massive debt, if it's covered in your scholarship or your financial aid, do it. I think
yes.
There's
if it's covered, you have nothing to lose. And I also think like with college, like going to university, an underappreciated piece is also like the ability to kind of build like a network a little bit and meet a lot of different people, kind of grow your social skills. I think that might be an unappreciated kind of asset with the university. Now, is that one of the main reasons that you should go and spend X dollars to go? Absolutely not.
No.
But again, still something that I think is definitely underappreciated. You know?
I mean, I think the value has diminished a lot over the years.
The cost is going up, baby.
Cost is going up. If my child came to me one day and said, I want to go to college for business, and it's not like Harvard Business School, or it's not fully covered.
Come to work with Dad for a little bit.
I'm not even going to be that. I'm going to be like, yeah, you could go. It's going to be on your own dime.
Okay.
Like I'm not paying for your college. If he comes to me, he's like, hey, I want to be a doctor, I'll back you. Right?
Yeah,
that's different.
Yeah.
But if you're, because I know the value of that degree. Like, there's so many people over the years that have worked with us that are like, hey, I'm thinking about going to get a master's degree. I'm thinking about going to do this or do that. That's a lot more valuable. That's always been more valuable in business, like an MBA or just, you know.
You think an MBA is valuable?
It is more valuable than a bachelor's degree from a known school that's not specialized in business. That's for sure.
Okay.
Like when you're applying to any of the top 100 finance companies in the city, they'll look at that and they'll give it some value.
You think?
Yeah, 100%. It really depends on what you're looking for. I mean,
and the reason why I say that is because everyone has one. So like, how valuable is it?
Not everyone has one.
I mean, most people do though.
Getting like an MBA or like a master's degree costs more money than going to get a bachelor's degree. And most of the time it's not covered. You're not really getting like a scholarship, especially if you're doing it after a couple of years break. So there's a lot of factors and a lot of added incentive of being able to do that. You know, I don't think that has diminished too much. I think that the value of the undergrad degree, if we're talking about business, is what's been diminished more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I mean, as we start to, kind of wrap up, what kind of advice, based on, your experiences, as we start to wrap up, what would you kind of give, our viewers here and listeners, if they're in a place where, maybe they're the person that has switched majors 2 or 3 times, or maybe they're the person that is debating on going to college or university, what would be maybe a piece of advice you'd give?
Depends on the line of work you want to get into. I think right now it's important for people to understand that even if you're trying to go to school even if your goal is to become like a full stack engineer and make $200,000 a year, there are boot camps, there are resources that are available online, there's paths that you can carve for yourself for free that could eventually get you there. Maybe not as quick as going to college, maybe a longer, more harder path, but there are ways where you can get there now with the resources that are available. Same thing applies to the world of business. I mean, nothing is more important. I think, we're talking about master's degrees, MBAs, nothing's more valuable, in my opinion, than getting hands-on experience, even if you start off small. I think that if you have the opportunity, for like my feedback would be this, right? If you have the opportunity to go to college or university and it's covered and you don't have to pay, and your financial aid or your scholarship, or you've done well enough in high school or your SATs or PSATs, whatever it is, to get you a full ride, or your financial situation covers you, then 1,000% do it. Because there are things, I mean, I started my first business while I was still in college and while I was still working in college. I was working to pay for my apartment in college. My dad didn't pay for that. And I was on top of that, I was working like 3 jobs. And on top of that, I was working to graduate with a degree. And on top of that, I built my first startup, raised money, and recruited a team of like 6-7 people while I was still in college in my last year. So there's no there shouldn't really, if you're driven and you're focused, there's really no reason for you not to be able to do things that are beyond that, you know? But the reality is this: if it's covered, 1000% go through that process, because it'll change you as you discover different elements of yourself.
Yeah.
If you want to go to school for computer science, for trying to be a lawyer, trying to be a doctor, a psychiatrist, any specialized degree, that's your only avenue. Like, no one's going to trust you with their, with
so-and-so's course certificate.
Yeah. So that you don't really have options. So I think that's more valuable in the long run. It's going to cost you a lot more. And you will most likely be in debt, $200,000-300,000 if you're a doctor, and it'll take you about 10, 12, 13 years to pay things off after you're done. But it'll be worth it. At least you'll be taken care of. There's no risk. It's a very safety net situation. So that's where I would say. But again, if you're just trying to go to, I don't know, Baruch, or maybe Baruch's actually a bad example, but if you're trying to go to Nassau, right? Or Hofstra for business, and you have to pay $7,000 a semester, then you might want to think about that. Unless daddy's got enough money to throw it out, out the window, then go ahead and take daddy's money. But if that's what's going to cost you, and you're going to be taking out loans to pay for that, then you might want to think about that. That would be my take.
Yeah. I think, I agree with a lot of what you'd mentioned. And
what do you believe? Where do you stand? What's your heart stance on this?
I would say I like what you mentioned before, and I agree with that, where it definitely is very dependent on two things: the career path that you want, but then number two, on the person. I would say if you don't know what you want to do, I'm definitely not opposed, and I'm a fan of taking that 6-month break after high school, as long as you're working, staying productive, not just kind of hanging out on the couch, and just kind of find yourself. And I'm a huge believer, because I'm a relatively young guy too, and just kind of tasting different things, finding out what you like. Don't be afraid to kind of go into the deep end. And if you do that for long enough, you will find what you like. And depending on what, that industry or what that topic is, then you can make a more educated decision to either go to university or maybe go down the experience route, going straight into the workforce. So I think that'd be my take. So
I just think that it's important that people, you got to stay active.
Without a doubt.
And that's
one of the biggest things too with the break I just mentioned is people hey, I'm going to take a break and figure myself out. But you're 3 months in, it's like you're sitting there and you beat the new Spider-Man 8 times. It's like, dude, come on.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
And it's easy to do though. It's easy to kind of fall into that trap.
You got to think about yourself as an athlete. You not being drafted into a team, but if you're not getting the reps and the practice in, when the time comes, you're going to flop. So I think it's just really important that
I'm trying to think of one of the greatest undrafted rookies of all time, but I'm having trouble. Who? Julian Edelman? Are you sure he was undrafted? Might have been a 7th or 8th round pick. Huh? Oh my God, I sound like a bot. Guys, please don't torch me for that. Don't torch me for that. But again, as we start to wrap up, appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe to the channel so you can see more content. And until next time, we'll see you soon.
Yeah, venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand, it's whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit, you just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles, time to take it to the next level. Let's go.